better. Because I hate a company with a certain group of people, like my niece who works with CNN and DC. I have to get working on my national news and what's going on. And international news.
You don't want to be the one sitting at the table saying, say what?
Exactly. And so, but bless their hearts, they came. They did. And they wouldn't come in the house. I took everything outside. And but then they wouldn't allow me. They didn't want me to go to a wedding. So they came. But then, I feel like they're gonna allow me. I'm gonna go next week. Yeah.
I see you.
Oh my goodness, it's good to see you.
How are you?
We're good. Good. You're so pretty. I said, I want to come in person. I was wondering if anyone was going to tell everybody.
And then I have both my shots. Same here. Loosey-goosey.
When did you get your last?
It's been about 4 weeks.
Okay.
I got the last one before.
I didn't have it right.
I didn't want to go.
How are you? Doing okay today? Good. Family as well?
My parents when I went on ours in November. It's been a while for us when we got our both of our vaccines. And Brianna just got hers yesterday, her second. So, and I was telling Hector that Pfizer, because that's the only one that they can get. She just turned 17. She barely turned 17.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, tell me.
The girls have fun.
She's my only one, so I don't know what we're gonna do next year. She's already a senior. I'm like, my goodness, you know, everybody would always tell me. I know. I had one when her youngest was 16. Oh my God. Right? That's very true. Yeah. You know, when everybody tells you, you know, once I hit high school, it's gonna go quick. I mean, it really does. And then this past year, of course, it didn't help.
Yeah.
You know, with all this, with all the changes. Next year she'll be a senior. So yeah, she got her right now. She's looking at Texas State just to kind of continue with, and then she's looking at speech pathology.
That would be great.
And they have a pretty good program over there. And so, yeah, it is. It's grown so much since I was there. I can't believe how much it's grown. And I mean, it's not too far. And you know, you have, you know, exactly. You have San Antonio, Austin. They're all. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, I mean, that's what she's looking at right now.
Well, you know, Carol, she got to go in my place to Cozumel. Yes. Hello. Hi, good. How are you? Good.
And I had her first T-ball game tonight.
26 when it started.
Alex sent me a picture. She's tiny for 5. I mean, she's barely inside. They would not.
Original plan.
You look at her 5-year-old cousin.
Well, I mean, it didn't matter if you talked to Carol.
With the girls or the boys?
They had to stick to the girls. I don't know what they do.
The reason I'm asking is because it's like
Are they playing?
where her birthday fell, she wasn't eligible to play with girls, but she was eligible to play with boys. So she was her freshman year. Where their little playing.
I was telling Hector that when my girls, when my 2 oldest started, it was the first time they'd ever had girls. And so we looked at their uniforms.
Let them out the door. See them in a tie and lunch.
Poor Alexandra.
It went on and on.
Rolled up about 8 times, the tops of the pants rolled.
Parade.
That Cozumel is
Three-quarter lane, please, down to here.
We missed it today. That was a big chance. And
This morning.
It's hard to believe.
It's raining, it's raining, it's raining. No, no, no. I'm sitting there.
I'm still like still starting to turn to hit me with rain.
By the time I got out there,
Pretty quickly.
We're going to my old stomping grounds where it started in Odessa.
I know.
Really signing.
sticks are up.
You know, and I think I had shared with you, I kind of started
if I ever see one.
feeling it.
We killed about a foot long in Wagner
You know, we were
earlier this week.
Halloween, we
Well, the
were.
president and I.
All of a sudden, it was like,
Nobody ever answered.
We got my house.
I got a ride to haunted houses and all. And so I dropped her off and get home. Never had I done, I mean, I had.
Got used to that
And I'm
4-hour
looking at Carl, and he's
drive.
like, well, we're looking at each other like,
What are we gonna do now?
and he was like,
Stop in the Sanderson for the ring.
here's something, he goes, I don't know how we're gonna have out of the house.
Current, so I don't know.
We did.
Very true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we're so.
We're out there looking.
Oh, yeah.
I think, yeah, actually.
How are you?
It's different setup today. How are you?
Rabies.
And then the DPS, man, they've been fake ever since.
We did a warrant.
What are now we're going into
And they've been past a couple times. We're gonna do our graduation there.
How you doing? Well, how are you, sir? See you, long time no see.
So we were talking earlier about playing cards.
Oh.
Consequences a lot.
No, that's.
I finally got an Apple Watch, but I still don't know really all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, okay, I don't know.
I can barely work my phone, so I gotta.
Let's get back to it. We won't talk about that, just in case you might need it again, which I hope. Just get back to normal.
Students on Zoom.
Well, you're gonna hear, I'm sure today, and we're gonna open up a little bit. Trying to get back to normality.
That's what you do, what you gotta do.
It doesn't move around at all when the only thing is it muffles.
Well, but it's kind of nice to be able to see your mouth. I know something that bothers me. I am somewhat bored.
It seems that, right?
And so, like,
Population about like 16,000. Over 16,000 vaccinated.
I have trouble with these masks where I can't.
We are headed again.
Yeah, I have, if I could.
They did. They were very thankful for Bluebonnet County to offer this program.
Now we got vaccines.
Did you hear about the Johnson and
I didn't, I can't give any hugs until you finish.
I'm gonna sit behind Stephen.
I know.
Back right now.
I'm not a doctor, you would know, no.
But thank you again for all the info. Tell Marco I want to visit. We can steal that number for you. Especially the technical, because I see.
It's been a long time.
You guys don't get it. You can accept. A bunch of them are already-
They were, in person, January. The only problem.
Yeah.
It makes my glasses here. But I have it.
Have you had activity?
We're still. The arms to be outside.
No.
The arms from.
up, and I said, Mark.
I guess that would be a problem though.
He says, hey, listen, I gotta let you go. I said, Dr. Hill, my help. The neighbor just called. Go, you do what you gotta do. So.
Yeah, the same
All the
story like that, like this.
all the doors.
And then the daughter and the wife got better. Got worse.
Yeah, we hear you. And it's on y'all. I mean, that's what I tell them. It's on that student.
She was young.
So we're gonna be messy.
On my nose, they clog it.
I'm really gonna have three.
Honey said, but.
Really?
Years ago, we had babe, but I said, I've been taking care of business.
That's the next 3 hours that I have in this package.
Yeah, outreach initiatives, and so yeah, we're definitely happy to work with them and join forces. So I've always believed that we need handshake that works.
To show that they're community. Everyone. Before we start working with this in prayer.
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us all together. Please guide us all as we make decisions for our students. In your name we pray. Amen.
Leading the board of trustees of Southwest Texas Junior College. Dr. Medicine will be.
Board of Trustees of Southwest Texas Junior College met in regular session February 25th, 2021 via Zoom. Board President Rodolfo R. Flores called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Board members present were Rodolfo R. Flores, President, Dr. Harry O. Watkins, Vice President, Dr. Antonio H. Rivera, Secretary, Maria Elena Lara, Tony T. Moreno, and Anita Shackelford. Board member absent was Victor Lopez. Also present was Dr. Hector Gonzalez, President of the college. The minutes of the January 21st, 2021 regular board meeting were read and approved as presented by Dr. Antonio H. Rivera, Secretary. Board President Flores welcomed guests at the meeting, which included college personnel, Ann Charsky, Margot Mata, Derek Sandoval, Connie Buchanan, and Ismael Martinez. There were no audience patrons. President's report was presented by Dr. Hector Gonzalez. A motion was made by Dr. Harry Watkins and seconded by Dr. Antonio H. Rivera to approve the January 31st, 2021 financial statement as presented by Ann Charsky. Motion carried unanimously. The copy is attached. A motion was made by Anita Shackelford and seconded by Dr. Harry O. Watkins to approve the resolution asking the legislature to grant us authority to move the May election to the uniform general election date in November. Motion carried unanimously. The copy is attached. Motion was made by Dr. Harry O. Watkins and seconded by Dr. Antonio H. Rivera to move the March 2021 board meeting from the 18th to 25th. Motion carried unanimously. A copy is attached. The motion was made by Maria Elena Lara and seconded by Anita Shackelford to add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB's Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual, update 40, with no changes. Motion carried unanimously. A copy is attached. A motion was made by Dr. Harry O. Watkins and seconded by Dr. Antonio H. Rivera to accept the strategic plan 2021-2026 goals. Motion carried unanimously. A copy is attached. In an open session, Board President Flores called the board into executive session at 7:32 p.m. to consider vice president's contracts, employees terminated, resigned, retired, new hires, and transfers. At 8:05, the Southwest Texas Junior College Board reconvened in regular session. A motion was made by Dr. Harry Watkins and seconded by Anita Shackelford to extend vice president's contracts to August 31st, 2024. Motion carried unanimously. A copy was attached. Today's meeting was closed in honor of Dr. Ismael Sosa, former president of Congress. With no further business or action to discuss, Anita Shackelford made the motion to adjourn. Marilena Lara seconded the motion. The motion carried at 8:07 p.m.
Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
It says after convening an open session, we hadn't even gone in closed session yet. Has to be changed.
Or could you?
It says after convening an open session, we've never gone into closed session. Top of the second page. It says after convening an open session, we've never gone into closed session.
So if you read further, it calls us into executive session. So that's just referring to the open part of the meeting. After convening an open session? Yes. We can strike that and just say board president, or it's called the board meeting executive session. We'll do that.
Any other comments? Not, I have to recognize our guests. And Tarski, Wade Carpenter, Elaine Martinez, Eric Sandoval, Steve Martinez, Robert Munoz, Rosie Ms. Fettersfield, but she's here also. Okay. Do we have any audience?
No, sir.
Next item, reports. What do the investment receive?
Number 5, report A in your packet, is quarterly investment report, quarter ended February 28, 2021. We had a market value of our investments in the amount of $14,412,000. This doesn't require a vote. I'm just required every quarter to bring this to your attention.
Next item is investment policy.
The investment policy is marked number 5, report B. It's the same investment policy that we've had previously. There have been no changes made. Again, we are required to bring this to your attention every year. No vote is necessary. It's just for you to review it.
Thank you. Next item is the president's report.
Yes, sir. It's item number 6 in your board packet. And so we'll begin with the strategic plan. Our stated there, we have continued to work on this plan for us going forward for the next 5 years, which 21, 26. We've approved the mission statement, the value statement, the goals, and then this month we're bringing to you the specific objectives that will support our plan moving forward. There's a separate agenda item for that, so I won't go a whole lot, but once we get this approved by the board, then our different departments, different units in the college will then take those goals and develop action plans to get into the fall to move us forward in the next 5 years. COVID-19 cases continue to trend downward. I think Derek reported that as of this morning, we have no new cases to report. At the time the president's report was shared with you, we had 2 cases that occurred after spring break. We offered vaccines to all the employees last month. We did have some that elected, that didn't want it, but everybody that wanted a vaccine, it was offered to them, and they should have plenty of time for their second dose to return back to campus on April the 26th with no problem.
So tell us, do we have a specific policy on the COVID and the vaccines and the requirements on our staff?
So we have specific protocols for COVID. I wouldn't say that they rise to the level of policy, but it's the protocols that we've adopted. And thus far, we have not mandated a vaccine to return to campus. So it's up to each individual if they want to have the vaccine. We are requiring masks still on campus. Not to say that that's the way it's going to be, for how long. We're still following guidance by CDC and the governor's office and the co-board. But for our return to campus on April 26th, we'll still require the mask. If they have their vaccine, that's great, that's awesome. But if they don't have the vaccine, expected to return to campus and return to work.
Is there a trend by any chance on the colleges for requiring vaccination from the employees and stuff? Is there anything down the pipeline that?
I don't believe any colleges is mandating a vaccine, and part of the reasoning is the vaccine has emergency use authorization only, and in order for us to require, like we require meningitis for dorm students, it has to be generally approved by the FDA and not under emergency status. So because it is under that still emergency use only, we can't theoretically mandate it for all of our employees. But we highly encourage it, and we made everything possible to get it to them. But some employees, for various reasons, elected not to. On the Del Rio roofs, we continue to work with TASB. I think we're at the point where we need board input as to which way to proceed, and we have an agenda item for that. OCI is the solar farm. This is the proposed solar farm south of Canepa. I've met with representatives from OCI over a year ago, and they discussed a proposed tax abatement for their investment there. Near as I can tell from our conversations, the investment is about $160 million once the project is finished. Tax value by using just the current rate that we have now over a 10-year life is approximately $1.5 million in tax revenue for our college. They're asking if the board would consider a payment in lieu of taxes. They call it a pilot. And what they're proposing is what they originally proposed was about $18,000 a year if we abated their tax. So you can do the math, $18,000 a year times 10 years is $180,000 versus $1.5 million. So what's the incentive for us to do that? Unlike the school districts, where if they have if their property values increase significantly, then the state decreases their appropriations, their state money. We don't have that same problem that ISDs have. So in essence, if they don't abate, they get the tax, then the next year the state will fund them less. So there's an incentive for school districts to go the pilot route. So that was our initial conversation. They came back to us, I want to say 2 months ago, and wanted to revisit it. And so I met with them and I said, what you're offering is, I can't recommend, because it makes no sense for us. It doesn't, benefit our taxpayers, our institution. So I said, perhaps there's something you can do upfront. And what they came back with is like a $250,000 upfront payment, but that would be the only payment for 10 years. Coincidentally, the $250,000 is what our tax revenue would be the first year at the full $160 million. So I told them that I would run it by the board and get input from you, but I don't see a reason why we would grant this. They're estimating possibly 2 full-time jobs once at the termination. There's going to be plenty of construction jobs for 1.5 years, 2 years maybe, but once it's terminated or finished, it's going to be 1 to 2 full-time jobs. He did say that there would be opportunities for our students to, go tour the facility and stuff like that. But I'm making you aware of it, and if you want me to pursue it, then there's, legal steps that we need to do to move forward. But on the surface, I can't recommend that to you.
It have to be an action item at some point, or
If you want to pursue it, then we have to adopt a resolution on the criteria that we use to grant abatements. And then after we do that, then you can see if this meets the criteria. I check with colleagues, across the state, and I have some samples of those resolutions, and just on the surface, they said that wouldn't meet their criteria for an abatement, primarily because of the jobs. If we had granted the abatement and it would end up with 150 jobs for the community that we would be training, that would be an incentive for us to grant or consider an abatement. But in this case, they said that it wouldn't meet their criteria. I can certainly put it on as an action item going forward, but I just wanted to make you aware that that's what they're offering.
But the offer right now is not very much, so.
It's the first year tax that we would collect anyway.
How much is that?
About 250,000. So if we do nothing, we get 250 the first year. If we give them the abatement, we get 250 the first year, and then nothing for 2 years.
There's nothing to gain.
That's why it's hard for me to recommend.
We're abating, we're just burdening the taxpayers more. Overall.
Continuing on down the report, state appropriations. So we have both houses have voted on their, the Senate has voted on their version. Each house prepares a budget, and they alternate. This year it's the Senate's turn. So the budget is sitting at the House now. They'll start looking at the appropriation dollars. In both versions, we stand to net about 700,000 each year the biennium in increased appropriations. And I included in the president's report, there's a sheet that's yellow on top and pink. It has each column is a different version of the plan. One is the House, one is the Senate, and one is the Senate with some changes. But if you look at Southwest Texas Junior College, it shows under the first plan, we would see an increase of 1,467,000. Under the second version, 1,492,000, and the third, 1,472,000. So that's for both years of the biennium. So approximately 700,000 for each year. Every red that you see there is a college that's losing money. So in the first one, there's 32. In the second one, there's 29. And in the third version, there's 31. You see a decrease in funding. We're blessed with what we've been able to do. Even though we saw decreases in enrollment, our decreases weren't as big as what the decreases were across the state. The other point was our success points really help contribute to the increase that we see in funding. So from an appropriation standpoint, we're sitting in a very good spot. Going down to the next page, this is House Bill 2640 and House Bill 2645. 2640 is the bill that would give us the authority, the option to move our elections from May to November. That has been voted out of committee, and the House will vote on it tomorrow. If they approve it, then it'll go to the Senate. House Bill 2645 is changing the outcome of an election from a majority to a plurality. So if you had 3 people running in one of the places and nobody got 50% plus 1, whoever got the most votes would be declared the winner and not have to go through a runoff election. And that's specific to Laredo and us. We're the 2 colleges that requested that. I went and testified on 2645 last week. Once it hits the Senate, I'll probably go and testify on both of them on behalf of Southwest Texas Junior College. On CARES funding, you have a worksheet, not worksheet, just a separate narrative on that. And at the top it says Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. So in short, the U.S. Department of Ed has, the Congress has approved 3 different layers of CARES Act. There's different names for it. We're calling HERF 1, the original, HERF 2 was the second round, HERF 3 is the third round. And if you look at that separate handout, it'll show you how much that we received. So under HERF 1, we received $1.8 million for students, and the institution received $1.8 million. Most of that has already been spent. All the student amount has been spent. And I said at this point, all of the HERF 1 money for the institution has been spent. A lot of that went to personal protection equipment, air purifiers, everything that we had to spend COVID related. We bought Chromebooks, just everything in our response to shifting to online learning or remote learning. Out of the HERF 2, my graph or HERF 3. Now this is the amount that Congress just recently passed. It hasn't. Those dollars haven't been formally sent to us, but the estimates based on the formula that they're going to use, we should see approximately $7,124,000 for students and a corresponding $7,124,000 for the institution going forward. So on the institutional side, you can see CARES 1, $1.8 million, HERF 2, $6.2 million, and then HERF 3 would be $7 million on top of that. So that'll give you an idea of the kind of investment that the government is helping us cope with the challenges of COVID. Now, with HERF 3, the latest round, they really made modifications to the rules on how we could spend that money. And one of the things that was clarified was us being able to charge the loss of revenue to the grant. So, for example, the loss in daycare revenue, the loss in dorm revenue, cafeteria revenue, workforce training revenue, tuition revenue, everything revenue-wise that got impacted because of COVID. If we're able to estimate what that loss is, we can charge it to the grant. So the most recent estimate is right at $4 million. So that's going to be $4 million that's going to go straight to our bottom line. The good thing. Any questions on the higher ed relief? Okay, so that kind of explains that a little better than just my narrative there. I gave you a copy of kind of my outline. We had a virtual town hall on March the 9th for employees and students, and those are some of the topics that I covered in that presentation. The other thing I want to share with you is the desk audit. So you have a copy. Again, the last item attached to the president's report. This was a desk audit by the core board, and it dealt with enrollment in our courses. There was 2 findings in that audit, and you can go through the letter, but they centered on, one is if I get this right, on the audit logs within our software system that tracks who makes changes when. And so we could go back, last year and see when a course changed, who made that change and the date. So that feature wasn't activated in our system. It is now. So that was one of the findings. And the second finding was to have a third-party audit, security audit of our system. Is that fair? And so the response that's included in your packet there is, the information from the co-board and then the response from management on how we're going to address those two findings. Those will go to the Texas Higher Ed co-board, I believe in May. Any questions on the desk audit? Then finally, reorganization. So the last 3 meetings I've shared with you our plan for reorganization. The first stage of that reorganization was the appointment of Dr. Brenda Shell, and Brenda's here with us today. She's going to present our strategic plan. The second stage is going to involve reorganizing our student services department. And then the third stage will involve a reorganization of how we manage dual credit. So just to kind of give you an idea of the 3 broad areas that we're going to start with on reorganization. And then you have a list there of upcoming meetings and of course the attachments that were included with the president's report. Okay.
Dr. Gonzalez. Next item is consider an act on financial statements of March 31, 2021.
Number 7 in your board packet is the financial statements. Statement of revenue and expenditure year to date. We had education and general revenue of 29 million. Our student aid was 8,255,000. Our auxiliary enterprises had revenue in the amount of 87,000, making our total revenue 37,343,000. Our educational expenditures were 21,603,000. Student aid was 11,848,000. Our auxiliary enterprises had expenditures in the amount of 591,000. Making our operating expenditures before debt service 34,044,000. Our operating our total excess revenue was 1,865,000. Pages 2 through 11 are the details that support those summary figures. On page 12 is our statement of net assets, unaudited as of March 31st. We had total current assets in the amount of 9,382,000. Non-current assets in the amount of 44,540,000, making our total asset figure 53,923,000. We had current liabilities in the amount of 5,204,000. Non-current liabilities 20,960,000. Making our total liability figure $26,171,000. Again, this is giving us an increase in net assets as of March 31st of $1,865,000. Summary account balances are on pages 13 through 15. We had cash in the bank of $5,915,000, certificates of deposit in the amount of $6,350,000, making our total account balance $12,265,000. On pages 16 through 18, we show our investments in CDs. Restricted CDs in the amount of $3,850,000, unrestricted $2,500,000, making our total certificate of deposit amount $6,350,000. Page 19 shows our maturities and our renewals for the month of March. On page 20, you will find all of our scholarship amounts listed. We had total scholarships in the amount of $943,642. Under other investments, the Will C. Miller corporate stocks were valued at $219,600, and the corporate plant funds were valued at $145,554.
Any questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Motion carries. Next item is consider and act on fee rates.
Yes, sir. This is item number 8 in your board packet, and these are primarily allied health fees. These are pass-through fees. Just changes in what the companies charge for the various fees. We ask that the board approve the changes.
I move that we accept the fees as presented.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item is consider and act on appointment for board members to confer degrees.
Yes, sir. Last year we had Ms. Lada confirmed the technical and Dr. Watkins the academic. We have Steve 5. We have 5 different graduations. So I want to say last year we had 5 different conferred. Yes. And I think you all have, some of you have already reported the conferring of degrees. So you want to have, I guess, there's 5 present. It can be these 5. And obviously, we'll still make an opportunity for Dr. Rivera and Mr. Lopez to have a opportunity to make a statement for the graduates as well. That's acceptable to the board. All 5. We have 5 different ceremonies. It's going to be virtual again. So we'll just record the conferring of the degrees. The 5 that are here.
Motion.
Okay. I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Consider an act how to proceed with WFE claim.
Yes, sir. This is item number 10. So we've gone as far as we can go without taking the next step, and that is litigation. We have, and it kind of summarizes there the disparity. TASB has an actual cash value of the damages of $612,000. Our third-party adjuster has a estimated cash value of the damages to replace is $4.78 million. Considerable difference there. So we've done some research, reached out to both of our attorneys, both Walsh, Gallegos, I think it's Coleman, Walsh, they've done a name change, but they don't handle these type of insurance coverage matters. And our other attorneys, Thompson and Horton, declined because they have a conflict of interest since they've represented TASB as well. So then we contacted 3 others that we got referrals from. The first being Brandon McBride, that will work on a contingency of 40%, no hourly option. The Dugas Law Firm, which will do a contingency of 35% or a $4.50 an hour hourly rate. And then Lee Shodowski, close enough. There's a corporate that doesn't specialize cases against insurance. So really we have 2 attorneys, the Brandon McBride and the Dugas Law Firm, and we need direction from the board on which way you would like for us to proceed in this matter.
It looks like the Dugas has got a better contingency proposal. What would be administration's recommendation if we go hourly or contingency? Which one would be the most reasonable?
I don't know the level of complexity that's going to be involved in presenting our case. I will say at this point, my estimate is that it's going to be settled somewhere in between, but that's beyond my expertise. You know, I defer to Mr. Flores on his opinion on which way would be best. I know, 100 hours is $45,000. I don't know what 100 hours gets us. Yeah. But 35% is also a big chunk out of potential $4 million claim.
Just based on contingency, we have to go with the Dugas, looks like. We have no idea how many hours it's going to take for them to do what needs to be done.
Well, on a contingency basis, say we got $1 million, they get $350,000. So it only leaves us $650,000. So right now they're offering how much?
612.
So I think anyone's opinion is just as good as the other. It's just a matter of speculation.
An hourly rate in addition to the contingency?
No, it's either or. So a contingency, if they get nothing, we pay them nothing. But if they do get an award, then it's 35% of that award.
Whatever the award is, not anything above what we're already offered.
Correct.
That's $1 million by settlement. And then we get $700,000.
We can do hourly.
And they say we're going to pay the expenses.
We haven't got that far.
I would imagine they're asking for contingency plus expenses. That's the general rule.
That's general. The other thing we can do is we can allocate 100 hours, 200 hours towards it, not to exceed. And know that we're going to spend up to $90,000 on the claim. But I have no basis to say, 100 hours or 200 hours is going to be sufficient.
We don't know. Thing is, once you go by hourly, then they may drag their feet, draw it out. Whereas contingency, they'll move fast to get it done, and I would imagine they would I'm just speculating, but contingency is a no-brainer with the Dugas. They're 35% versus 40. And the other company, Brendan, they won't go hourly. So we're forced to do contingency with those guys, so.
The other component of this is the work that Alamo adjusters have done is 10% of anything above the TASB claim. That was our arrangement with them. The adjusters that came up with the 4.7 million, their fee is 10%, but only on the amount above what TASB offered to bear. So anything above 612, we would pay them 10% as a fee for what they're doing.
Dr. McDonald's, Board, I would like to also add that the Dugas law firm is the one that had worked with Alamo Public Adjusters. They are familiar with them, and they're the ones that have also helped with looking at the proposal of the 4.7 million. So they also claim that their aggressiveness, if you will, contingency fee, they feel they could possibly push that envelope a little bit further. As you mentioned, they may drag their feet on an hourly rate. So that's the conversation that I have had with Dugas Law Firm.
And if we do decide to go contingency, there's some caveats that we need to do, but we have to get it approved by the Attorney General's office, but the Dugas Law Firm is aware of that, and they would provide that support to get the proper clearance from the Attorney General to do a contingency fee.
They would do a little bit extra to earn their. I would look at that firm at this point.
The question whether you're going contingency or hourly basis. Like I say, anyone's opinion just as good as the other. Based on our opinion, just as they say, it's a gut feeling. Since we don't have any basis, the one that's charging for hourly basis is not giving us an idea how many hours they think it would take.
Correct. Yeah.
So we have no basis on that. And on the contingency basis, we have how much it's going to be, but because that's more or less the standard fee, but I think it's pretty high anyway. And for example, let's say we had 2 million. We say, well, let's go ahead and compromise because we're not going to win. So then they hurry up and get 750,000 or 700,000. So they would only come out with 1.3. I'm just putting these things out because I think we should ask them, on the hourly basis, how long do they think it will take?
No indication was given. No indication was given.
I think we should ask them to make a decision. There's at least some basis for making a decision.
Anything else that you want us to ask the Dugas? We can ask them more specific questions and then bring it back.
And also ask them about the expenses on the contingency basis. So we imagine they both would want the expenses in addition to their fee. So that would mean that they would have to hire the experts to do all the adjustments by themselves. Each one will do their own and whatever they need. So that will be in addition. If I don't be the hourly part contingency.
We can reach out to them, get that information, and put it back on the agenda.
I think we give the board a little more information, which way to go maybe.
Are we on a specific timeline, like
So we were, but we were granted a 1 year 180 days.
That's correct. October the 11th.
We have until October 11th to,
Okay. We have time.
What about the statute of limitations? So
it was a year in April
it was a year and eight.
from the claim. That's correct.
So we have 2 years left. Next day.
Well, they gave us an extension on whether accepting the claim or not for another 180 days.
By statute, by getting us by the point. You know, in any case, after 1 year or 2 years or 4 years, if we don't do anything, then we can't do anything. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, I'll find out.
Statute of limitations. For example, in a personal injury case, you have a 2 year limitation. Somebody sues it at 2 years and 1 day, the case is out. You know. So. Because if we have 2 years, we better start filing very soon, so we can. Once we have all the information, I think the board will be much better position. So that's the way to work.
Okay. We'll bring that information to the main board.
Your comments in relation to the plate? Okay. Next item is consider an act on loan renewal for food.
Yes, sir. This is item number 11 in your packet. And this is just the annual renewal of the original roof repair note. We have a $484,000 balance. It's secured by 2 CDs, one from the Garner and one from the Selector. We're making 100,000 principal payments and interest on an annual basis. The balance is 384,000 at this point on the renewal.
The second loan.
This is the only loan that we have. Is that correct? Yes. Correct.
And we have more opportunities to go ahead and pay and renew. Go by with the loan. Any comments? And I will entertain a motion.
I'll move.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item, consider an act on 2021.
So item number 12 in your board packet is you have there a summary of the changes to the catalog and the corresponding page that it would show up in. And I believe the bound copy gives you pages where the changes were made and they're highlighted in yellow. Is there any specific change that I can address? All these changes have gone through the respective service operations committee or curriculum committee.
Any questions or comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next item, consider an act on 2021-2022 faculty handbook.
Yes, sir. That's item number 13. We follow the same format there. The top page highlights the changes recommended to the faculty handbook. And attached to that, you'll see the key core access that was omitted by accident in the bound copy. So that would be included in the faculty changes that we're asking for, the faculty handbook changes. These were approved by the curriculum committee.
Now we'll entertain a motion. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Okay, next item is consider an act on 2021-2022 student handbook.
Ms. Margot Johnson will present the item number 14 on the board packet.
Everyone should have a copy listing the proposed changes and updates to the 21-22 student handbook. Overall, minimal changes. Most listed are a result of better clarification on the existing information within the handbook. And again, just as President Gonzalez has mentioned, this was proposed and presented to the Service Operations Committee and was approved. On page 12, under Student Success Center, we're proposing a change in the format on how the information is presented. So it's been changed to bullet format. And then we're including a link to the web page. On page 17 through 18, under business services, all of the proposed changes in red and omissions in blue are a result of, again, better clarification on payment options and refunds. Pages 31 and page 35 are just updates to contact information. And then the last piece presented here is new information being proposed to be added within pages 6 and 7 in handbook for class scheduling and registration. This is a result of the different instructional modalities that we've been offering. And again, it just provides better understanding for the students as they get ready to register for courses. And then we're also including a link to the advising counseling webpage.
Any questions or comments? None will entertain a motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And review current strategic plan.
Yes, sir. This is the review of the current plan that we have now. So this will be the end point of our current plan, and then we will kick off with our 21-26 plan. And Dr. Show will present the review.
Good evening. So the 2017-2022 strategic plan was developed in light of the college's mission as a comprehensive public college serving 11 counties. The three broad goals of the current strategic plan are: 1, to identify and serve the learning needs of the community; 2, to cultivate excellence in teaching, instructional delivery, student services, support. And 3, provide reliable and sustainable resources and funding for the college. Under these 3 broad goals, there are multiple measurable objectives and improvement targets, including increasing the percentage of developmental education students who become college ready, increasing the number of students reaching certain success point goals, increasing the number of students pursuing STEM fields, improving student services, increasing course-based success, implementing career pathways, addressing deferred maintenance issues, procuring resources for the college, and improving operational efficiency. The mid-plan review is available as number 15 in your packet, and it shows that progress was made toward achieving all of these objectives. And the mid-plan review was conducted just before the pandemic, and although we have met and or exceeded all of the objectives in that plan, we knew that we could do more. The pandemic forced us to do things differently, to look at processes and procedures differently, and to look at our data in a different way. In short, it surfaced for us a new way of thinking about our work at SWTJC. We focused on refreshing our mission, vision, and values in a purposeful and inclusive process. And we've already submitted the new strategic plan goals to you in the February meeting. That's all for the number 15.
So motion to listen.
No, it's just reviewing what we found.
Well, thank you, Dr. Shell, and congratulations on the new appointment.
Thank you.
Very happy to see you in that position now.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay. Next item is consider an act for Savannah County Appraisal District Board nomination.
Mr. Clerk, can we go back to 16?
Are you not through yet?
That was 15.
Consider an act for 2021, 2026 final objectives.
Okay, so you'll remember from the February meeting that you all had that we drafted first 3 broad goals that we believe we must achieve for success. Those 3 goals are 1, start and enroll. SWTJC will foster a sense of inclusivity and engagement for all students and stakeholders with empathy, care, and outreach. Number 2, persist and succeed. SWTJC will champion opportunities for student success. Number 3, complete and ascend. SWTJC will increase personal, professional, and community growth through expanding opportunities. The first goal in the new strategic plan deals with enrollment and getting students in the door. In order to engage new and returning students, we're proposing 2 objectives. Objective 1.1 is to increase the efficiency and capacity of student enrollment. We propose to do this through 2 sub-objectives. 1.1a is to increase the efficiency of enrollment management. This sub-objective deals with encompassing, or it encompasses student placement in classes, as well as faculty utilization and efficient course scheduling. 1.1b, the second sub-objective, is increase enrollment of first-time college students by 45% or 500 students. This replaces the enrollment essentially from 1 early college high school, since they're capped on enrollment, and it yields about 200 full-time equivalent. Objective 1.2, to enhance student sense of connection to SWTJC as identified by pride, ownership, culture, identity, and inclusivity. Each of the measures of institutional sense of connection will be measured utilizing qualitative and quantitative tools, including surveys, focus groups, and our institutional narrative. Revelations from these measures will help us uncover factors that then can be used to develop an analysis of the level of sense of connection. Our second goal, persist and succeed, includes 2 proposed objectives and multiple sub-objectives. Objective 2.1, increase the number and percentage of students achieving 15 credits, 30 credits, and core complete status. We've proposed 5 sub-objectives that support student achievement of the 15, 30, and core complete success points. We place focus on several disaggregated groups of students who are important in moving these achievements forward. These groups include increasing the percentage of first-time in college non-dual credit students who achieve 15 credits at the end of their first semester. The second sub-objective under 2.1 is to increase the percentage of part-time students who achieve 15 credits within their first academic year. The third sub-objective under 2.1 is to increase the percentage of first-time in college non-dual credit students who achieve 30 credit hours in one academic year. The fourth under 2.1 is to increase the percentage of students who transfer from dual credit at SWTJC with at least 15 credits. And the fifth sub-objective under 2.1 is to increase the percentage of academic students who become core complete at the end of their at the end of their second fall semester. Moving on to 2.2, we want to increase one-year persistence rates. Specifically, we're looking at the proposed sub-objective of increasing 1 year fall to fall graduation and retention in the same program rates, or otherwise known as persistence rates of first-time in college students. Finally, under goal 3, complete and ascend, we have 4 proposed objectives and multiple sub-objectives. The first objective is to increase completion rates. We'll do that by focusing on 2 sub-objectives. The first is to increase the 2-year completion rate of full-time first-time in college students. And the second is to increase the 3-year completion rate of part-time first-time in college students. The next objective under complete and ascend focuses on transfer. In objective 3.2, we want to increase the 3-year transfer rate of transfer eligible first-time in college students. This objective works directly with objectives 2.1, 2.2, and 3.1 to move students through their pathway or pipeline efficiently and effectively. If we can get them to their 15, 30, and core complete thresholds in an efficient way, we will see that the rate of transfer will increase. An additional focus for transfer is working with our neighbor, Sul Ross, Rio Grande College, to increase the percentage of first-time in college students who transfer from SWTJC to Sul Ross. So we do propose a sub-objective for transfer of first-time in college students to Sul Ross. Also under goal 3 is objective 3.3 to develop an institutional framework for MAP student pathways to include identification, monitoring student progress, and placement in a job or academic standing at a transfer institution. This objective is tied directly to our pathways work. It will involve activities such as developing mapped pathways to student end goals, increasing the number of pathways, increasing the number of students on student planner, minimizing the number of courses that transfer as electives, also prioritizing transfer, as we talked about above, create and regularly update programmatic pathways, provide tailored transfer student advising, clearly articulate transfer options, continually monitor student progress, and help students seek and find additional financial resources. And finally, objective 3.4 is to develop and sustain an organizational culture for strategic innovation and development. So this objective is directly related to coming out of the pandemic with a stronger sense of who we are, what we value, and what we offer our community. We've learned that we are resilient as an institution and that we are innovative in the way that we navigated the pandemic. We're seeking to continue that innovation that carried us through the pandemic to further develop SWTJC as an institution that enriches lives and advances growth through education. This objective entails looking for opportunities to be proactive, innovative, and growth-minded. Some of the items we're already working on for this one include, of course, pathways, as we discussed above, increasing non-traditional revenue sources, focusing on the 8-week schedule transition, working with our school district partners on their college career and military readiness measures, strategic enrollment management initiatives, and any other strategic initiatives that may arise.
Item is considered and not of other county official district board nomination.
We have board approval on the strategic plan for our vote.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion on item 15 and 16.
15 agenda item,
15.
15, 16,
Yes.
the strategic plan objective.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consider an act on Zavala County and Persist District donation.
Yes, sir. We got this notice from the Persist District in Zavala County, and giving each entity the opportunity to nominate persons to serve on the appraisal district board of directors. I assume once they get the nominations, then we'll be asked to vote on those nominations. We have any individuals that would like to recommend. Both of our Zavala County trustees are not present today, so we have to be lacking inside, but I'm sure the school, the city, the county will have nominations for us to consider on our election. We don't feel comfortable enough to nominate.
You have time to table this.
No, I think they, let me see.
Somebody have a nomination?
Timeline, I think.
We have 45 days from March 18th, so I don't think we'll make the main meeting. But if we don't nominate, it'll still come back to us to vote on those that were nominated. You still have an input.
Do you have the nominations? If we want to make a nomination, we just vote on them with it.
Yes, sir.
No action being taken on item 17. It is now 8:12 p.m. The board will convene closed session on the first reopen back that determined section 551.71 and section 551.74 to consider new fund of various division shares patent. Voice terminated the time the tag new hires transfer. Section 51.74.